the striptease jokes with the infectious disease doctor. Um, yeah, that was wrong of me. And same with the doctors, talking about having a ball sack in my neck. Really? Really? But these behaviors didn't happen overnight. And then to learn that it's actually a blessing to see humor in it, but to know when to do it.
Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us. This is Molly and Sheri. Welcome to Serious Laughs. Today's episode is Get Your Hand Off My Back. We're going to talk about speaking up in uncomfortable encounters.
And sometimes it's not necessarily between the genders. Sometimes it's the same gender. Sometimes it's not a romantic relationship. It's that idea of speaking up when you know you need to. So open up like a good gynecological visit, boys and girls.
Hey Sheri, good to see you.
Hi, Molly. I miss you.
I miss you too. I'm so excited about this topic. I know we have some great stories to tell about this one. Let's just get into it, baby. Let's get into it.
All right.
Well, let me ask you. So we're talking about uncomfortable situations in various types of relationships, right? Mm-hmm. So when I ask you, what happens to you when you are in an uncomfortable situation?
Oh my God. I call it the colon coil. I
just got a visual of a turd that looked like a fucking mattress spring.
It's not even, because the turd is in the coil of the colon.
Oh my God. Okay, continue. So this is great.
And yeah, you just freeze and you feel like you can't move forward. It's interesting to me that our bodies mirror what we're thinking. There's that emotional mind-body connection. It also starts further up along the colon. This is not a science class. I realize there's no colon inside of our throat. But
insert disclaimer. We're not doctors.
Don't take a biology class from us. But that feeling, it starts that tightening up in your throat for me. And then, at the same time, you feel everything clench inside of you so that you have this, I guess, flight or fright, when you're uncomfortable. And you end up, if you're not aware of it, or you're aware of it and you think you don't have another choice, you end up turtling. You embrace the colon coil. I have a great quote from an article I wrote about this. I know the sensation now. It's my intuition telling me to pay attention. That coiled colon feeling was with me in youth when he'd linger around our house for days. Only then I'd ignored the feelings, dismissing whatever I felt that was negative as unimportant, unworthy, or undeserving of attention. And that is regarding, for those of you who aren't familiar with the article, and I wouldn't expect you to, and there's no test, that article is referring to a gentleman who I knew since childhood, who is about 5 years older than me, which is a big deal when you're 14 and 15.
Oh, yeah.
So that muscle memory, Molly, kicked in for me when he came back into my life just this past year. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, I was that girl with the ponytail, and I felt like that cartoon character with Pepe Le Pew, like, oh no, oh, very uncomfortable. And I think, like I said at the start of the show, this is two-pronged to get out of these uncomfortable situations. One, you need to be aware of what you're feeling. I think people go into the colon, the coiling of the colon, the CC, they go in there, but they don't even know that they have it. And then they wonder why 10 years later, they have irritable bowel syndrome. Our bodies are always talking to us. So that's part one. We need to be aware. Mm-hmm. And number two, that self-compassion piece is so huge. Back then at 14, I thought, my opinion doesn't matter. What I'm feeling doesn't matter. And we can change that if we have that first part, that awareness. So awareness and self-compassion to me go hand in hand. And that was the goal for writing the article. And that's our goal for you guys listening, is to cultivate that awareness and cultivate that self-compassion.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a lot. That was a lot to take in. I mean, so when this guy came back into your life, right, then you're instantly back in that body again. And then the question for you is, you were aware of what was going on, but did you say anything?
Oh, God. The meat of it. And I
okay, so what was so basically, right, he was getting a little handsy with you, right?
Yes.
Getting a little handsy.
And God forbid, Molly, I speak up and say, get your hand off my back. Get your hand off my leg.
Right.
I couldn't do it. The colon was coiled. I was aware.
Yeah.
But I couldn't do it. I kept jumping up from the couch every time he wanted me to see pictures. And he said, get closer. I don't bite. You kind of do, and I used my son as an excuse. I had to get my son. I had to pick him up. So the awareness was so strong, but I did ultimately get him out of my house and off my back. I did, but I regretted that I couldn't actually get the words out of my coiled colon, out of my esophagus, out of my throat, and into his face to say, no.
Don't do that. Yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that. But I made a promise to myself twofold. One was, after I beat myself up verbal, like, what the hell's wrong with you?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got still with myself and said, you know what? You're learning. We're all learning. At least I have the awareness piece. At least I know I matter piece. I knew it was wrong the whole time. The challenge for me was that muscle memory. It is like a tsunami. Emotionally, it comes over you and you just go into that default zone because the pull is so strong. But I want listeners to know we can always pivot. I plan on pivoting, and I'm going to do better next time.
Well, yeah. And that's the other question too, like, at what point, had he pulled out a knife and said, let me rub your thigh, would you have gotten up and just blamed it on your son a couple more times? Like, to what extent are you just saying to be, like, what am I trying to say here? What do we need to finally stand up to ourselves? And you asked me something the other day that I thought was great. You and I recently, which is so funny, so we create this podcast called Serious Laughs. And I'm like, well, geez, I haven't had anything like super serious happen to me. Like, definitely some downs. And then you go through a health scare, still kind of going through it. We'll get to that later. I went through a little health scare too. We'll talk about it later. But you were like, you asked me, did you have any problems advocating for yourself during your health care? And I said, no, because I was fucking terrified. Like, I was, I didn't know if I was going to live or die. I mean, and I know, see, now I'm going to apologize. I know that sounds dramatic, but it could have gone the wrong way.
Oh,
and so, yeah.
Blacked out.
Yeah.
You blacked out. I mean, I think listeners need to know you had a severe reaction to ant bites. You were, I mean, and I don't know, you're laughing.
I did.
See, and listeners, this is what we do. We revert to humor.
We do.
Because it's a coping mechanism. It keeps the straitjacket off.
Yes. Oh my gosh. But yeah. And so, like, and you made a freaking great point. If that was your son, or if that was my son, or my dog, or my husband, or my mom, or my dad, my brother, I would have had no problem standing up for them. And, but when it's us, it's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Oops, just shit my pants accidentally when I blacked out. Sorry about that. Hope it doesn't stink. And then, it stunk.
Right. I mean, that's why we're doing this show, guys, because we're showing you, like, you have to laugh through humanity. You have to. I think whoever's in charge of this universe, Molly, has a great sense of humor.
Yeah. I mean, the alternative is sad to me.
Yeah.
Is sad to me. And it's not to say that there's so much going on in people's personal lives. And I'm not discrediting any of that. I'm just like, where can we find that little glimmer of laughter, that little seed?
The sweet and the sour.
The
It's
sweet and the
there.
sour.
And we
It's
need to
there.
remind each other. We get dropped off after 9 months here, and we know there's an exit plan. We all are like the cartons of milk. We all have an expiration date. No one knows when it is. And so I'd rather live honestly, authentically, and I know you do too. And I want that for our listeners. So if that means we're shitting in our pants on the way to the ER, and we realize, I shouldn't be apologizing for the sudden deluge of feces.
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't. Which brings me to another quote for our listeners
about feces.
About feces.
Okay.
Louise Hay. I love that woman. I love her. She's deceased, but I believe we go on. I know we go on.
My heart will go on.
I am going to. What was that?
I said my heart will go on.
Your heart will go on, Celine. Here, so we talked about the coiled colon. So, listeners, whoever you are, listeners, this is not by any means a full of shit podcast. And we didn't plan it this way about talking about feces, but it's just very thematic. It's just coincidental, or I don't know whether you believe in
part of life.
Part of life. Louise Hay has a great quote I'm going to share with you about feces. The point of power is always in the present moment. Love that. The point of power is always in the present moment. This is when we begin to make changes. What a liberating idea. We can begin to let the old nonsense go right now. The smallest beginning will make a difference. When you were a tiny baby, you were pure joy and love. You knew how important you were. You felt that you were the center of the universe. You had such courage that you asked for what you wanted and you expressed all your feelings openly. You loved yourself totally, every part of your body, including your feces. You knew that you were perfect. And that is the truth of your being. Isn't that beautiful?
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere along the way, we stop loving ourselves unconditionally. And perhaps that's because that's what our predecessors taught us. So they learned from who they learned from, and it just goes on and on and on. But there gets to a point where you have a wake-up call, like almost dying and heading to the ER like you did. And in my case, my wake-up call, I'm having health issues at the moment. And they're trying to rule out lymphoma.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're given these wake-up calls, you have a choice. And I think a lot of people choose to keep putting on armor.
Yes.
Whatever that looks like. Maybe it's an addiction to porn or shopping, or they hide behind something excessively. They don't get real with themselves. But the armor's going to come off. And I rather listen to the coiled colon. I rather listen to the whispers that wake us up rather than wait until the armor's come off and there's nothing left of you.
Yes. Yeah. And then on the flip side of that, I will say I'm grateful I had it. I can say that because I didn't, I'm not dead. Right. Yay. So like we had, there's like, oh, hello, time to wake up, and we still have to come up with it. Hey, listeners, if you have ideas for a different way to say wake up call, because it cringes me. I get cringy when put it in the comments. Another phrase for wake up call, just because it's like, I felt like I was and I think you too, we're living life as best as you can. We laugh, we spend time with family, we try to eat well, we exercise, we blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, well, damn it. Why me?
Mm-hmm.
What the hell? So I'm, grateful I had it, because I can look back and say, okay, I guess I really wasn't doing those things. And now I look at my 6-year-old and I'm like, oh my God. I look at my 14-year-old, I'm like, he's got like 4 summers left at home. And then he's gone. And you've got kids, in a boy in college and one like
year
almost done. Yeah. And so it's just that, with like everything goes so fast and trying to soak it up. There's just, God, that's another episode right there. That's a lot of pressure. You know what I mean? Okay. I don't want to get off course though, because we were talking about like,
I love what you said about your son the other day, how they have little antennas. They're watching how we behave in uncomfortable situations. And before you share that, I remember we were talking about what this need to speak up in uncomfortable situations looks like across all of our relationships.
Oh, yeah.
Just romantic. It could be the boss. It could be your sister, your brother, your best friend. If some of our listeners are divorced, co-parenting, any uncomfortable situation. And for you, Molly, it'll be different than for me and for someone else, because we all come with our own stories. And so speaking up, maybe you and I wouldn't think twice about saying, no, you got the order wrong. We asked for this and not this. Mm-hmm. Have a good day. But someone else, that would be terrifying.
Yep.
You want me to say, I asked for no mushrooms? Well, didn't you ask for no mushrooms on the pizza? I did, but it's okay. Aren't you allergic to mushrooms? I am.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. And we realize we do something similar, and maybe, people listening can relate to this too. Like when we're talking to our kids, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, you're a single mommy and I'm a single mommy, married, but like my husband's gone a lot, right? So it's military or he's flying somewhere. So like Monday through Friday, I'm by myself, and then he usually comes home and then lays down the law, so we try to do as best as we can, but we're nurturers. So that's, and for me, it's really difficult for me to lay down the law and then I look at their cute little faces, or just like, and then I'm so uncomfortable in this freaking moment. And please tell me I'm not the only person out there, that I'll say something like, I'll turn on a stupid voice, or I'll say, boy, oh boy, there was lots of shit in the backyard today. Gonna have to go pick that up. You know what I mean? I'll do something and they're just like, okay, but you just yelled at me for X, Y, and Z. And what is she, Bozo the Clown now all of a sudden? Like, I don't fucking understand what she just did. Because I'm so I'm just like, don't hate me. Don't you just see I'm just doing my job? You know what I mean?
We care more about wanting to be liked than listening to our own intuition. It eclipses our judgment and our self-esteem when we care about what others think.
Yeah, girl. And we're not supposed to do that as parents. We're not supposed to be their friends, right? No, that's what everybody says.
And it's like what you said, they're adorable. And so you lose it's a facade, Molly. Listeners, it's a facade. I'm going to share this story. My son, who's now 21, he was in the crib. Maybe he was a year and a half. I don't know. Whatever. You know how time. He's 21. I don't know. He was
18. Continue.
He was at 18. He was still in the crib. That's a whole nother episode. I need this.
Give me that cigarette.
Give me that cigarette. So he was at that age where you still need a diaper. And you still get sung to at night, assuming like you do that as a parent. Not every parent does, but I did. And he was in a crib, but he was at that age where it's like, you're almost out of that crib. You know that age? Whatever that age. Let's put it at a year and a half, whatever. So he said, Mommy, stay with me. And like you said, Molly, it was adorable. And a little part of me was like, he is manipulating me. That little voice. And I kept singing lullaby and good night.
Oh.
I kept singing it over and over again to him, and he'd start to go back down in his crib. And then as soon as I stopped singing it, "Mommy, you stop, still sing." Okay, you're manipulating me, but oh God. So I must have been in that room. It just, as parents, you have like little memories. That one
Yep.
stands out. I slithered on the floor singing lullaby for maybe an hour. Lullaby and good
Like, as
night.
you got further and further away from the crib, you
Yes.
just like kind of inched your way back. That's hilarious.
Like an earthworm. And then at the very end, when I'm like, oh my God, I've almost made it to the threshold. I could already taste my wine and cheese downstairs waiting for me. As soon as I got down, like on the other side of the threshold, he said, "Mommy, why don't you just walk and go? Why are you on the floor?"
Oh my gosh.
That's like the extreme. I know what you mean with your kids, how we do that. We manipulate. That game we played growing up, Twister, that's nothing on what we do in life to please other people.
Yeah, pleasing your kids.
Yeah.
Man,
That self-awareness piece is huge. And I think going back to the wake-up call for our listeners, there's a quote by Oprah, like, the universe gives you a whisper, little tap, keep ignoring it. It finally gives you like a brick over the Oh, I think you had a brick shitting your pants with the reaction. And I had one when the doctor told me, well, the other doctors, it thinks you might have a form of lymphoma. I literally talk about a coiled colon. My very dear friend was.
Did you just crack out into like stand-up comedy? You were so uncomfortable. You just got onto the spotlight and you were like, okay, like so uncomfortable.
It's so funny you say that. I did two things, listeners.
Okay.
I did two things. The first thing I did was my really dear friend was in the room with me when he said it. And he's a great doctor, but most great doctors don't always have the best bedside manner. No offense to him, but he was just like, yeah, they're thinking lymphoma. Like he just said it like, I'll have ice cream. And so when he said it, Molly, my body went in like a coiled colon. Like like as if you had just kicked me. I wasn't expecting that. I was like, no, that doesn't me. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the next thing, he's like, let me see your rash, because that's one of my symptoms. No, I don't have fleas. One of my symptoms.
Okay, look what you just did. I just want to see. No, I don't have fleas. Look at her. Listen to her, you guys. You see what she just did? She just coiled up. Smoke that cig.
So I love my humor. Don't let me see the truth of things.
All right. I just wanted to point that out.
I love you. Thank you.
You're the best. Okay. So no, we know you don't have fleas.
I don't have fleas. So
you look at the rash.
The second part, when you said, did I make jokes? It became stand-up comedy in the doctor's office. He's like, let me see. I want to see your rash. And I was like, everybody wants to see me naked.
Oh no!
A woman naked. Oh my God. Is that cellulite? No, postmenopausal aura.
Oh my God. By Menon. Ding. Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, it was more important. I, ladies and gentlemen, I have a swollen lymph node on my neck, which is fine if you have a cold, but I don't. And they're checking, they have to monitor it. So I had a fine needle aspiration. FNA, I'm getting like a medical license by default. And they went in with the needle. And the whole time, I wasn't thinking about the pain or what to expect like normal humans, whatever normal is. My focus, Molly, was, let me make them laugh. And I'm like, hey, you think I took too much Viagra? Maybe that's why it's so big.
Oh my God.
And they were like, oh my God, you're funny. But I have to hold still. I gotta get the needle in. And I'm like, maybe there's Bitcoin and we can have fun together. I'm working on being a stronger woman. Is that a ball sack in my neck?
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Because God forbid I sit with the silence and the unknown. God forbid I sit with the fact that there are voices in my head, like we all have, that are whispering thoughts that I don't want to think. And this is the point I want to make to our listeners, and I'm working on it myself, is acknowledging those voices, but realizing that all they are is your ego, your brain going to work like a hamster. And you can watch it. You don't have to take it as fact.
Yeah.
You can watch it, but not take it as fact. So I can say the word lymphoma. I could say the word cancer. That doesn't mean I have it. We have this magical thinking, like if you think it, that means it's true. But you don't. The power's in that present moment.
Yeah.
And making that choice.
And I'm wondering too because I'm sure you did this for a couple of reasons that you just mentioned, but you're uncomfortable with the news, right? So you start your stand-up comedy act in the middle of the fucking doctor's office. But then also, I feel like it's my job to make them okay with it and let them know it's all good, guys. Like it's, lymphoma. All right.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like to make them feel comfortable with the news or something. It sounds just ridiculous. And I know we're not the only ones that do that. And
no.
Why can't we just sit there and go, oh shit? Maybe it's, I don't want to be that dramatic person.
Yes.
Or maybe I'm afraid of like what would happen if I actually let the news sink in. Would I just start bawling in front of people? Would I lose? I don't know. Or maybe not. It's so
I don't know,
interesting.
but I did like those are great points, Molly. I did like the fact that it woke me up, and I'm on a journey right now. What I love about our podcast is everyone's listening in, and we're exploring along with you. So I don't know what's going to come. You don't know what's going to come. But most recently, I went through a period of like, oh my God, I have lymphoma. I made it, I believed it, and my body started to respond. So I got this book by Joe Dispenza called Are the Placebo. And it's put me on this new path now of realizing that body-mind connection is so powerful. So I've started meditating regularly every day, whether I'm in the mood to or not, because my hope is to build up that muscle. We are constantly placebos, but the difference is we're not always aware of it.
Yeah.
So when I believed it was lymphoma, my body started to respond that way. It was like, oh, this is what you want? Okay. And now I've started saying, you know what? I don't know what I have, and that's okay. But I also believe that we are spirits having a physical experience, and I can imagine healing taking place in my body. And that everything's going to unfold the way it's meant to for everyone's highest good.
I love that.
With that, I've been able to have more energy, feel more confident, be more self-compassionate. I'm overriding my default setting, which requires vigilance. But the meditation helps because it's building a new muscle in place of the old one. The new muscle is, no, I do matter. No, there is a point to us being here. No, we're all going to die. So I want to make the most of this. I want to be present and know that I didn't leave any stone unturned that gave me pleasure. Because when we honor what we want, we set an example for the people we love and the world at large. When we honor what we love, we set an example for the people we love and the world at large. There is no benefit to playing small. You even gave an example we talked about with your son.
Mm-hmm.
You were telling him, you got to be the best. You got to, and then I think one of you caught the other, like you caught me.
Oh, yeah. I overheard him saying something. He's like, oh, it's so stupid. That was so stupid. And and he's 6.5.
But that's
And
the
I
best
said,
time. The
yeah,
neurons are forming, the brand new.
they're firing off, baby. Yeah. And I basically just said, no, you're not. No, absolutely not. Would you ever talk to your friend that way? You know, everybody's heard that before. Would you ever talk to your friend the way you talk to yourself? And he goes, no, that would be mean, mommy. And I said, there you go. You don't talk to yourself like that, though. The thoughts that, trying to say this to a 6-year-old, I was like, the things you say and the things you think about yourself, your body hears it. Your body hears it, and your body's going to believe it. So I was like, change it. I'm smart. I'm funny. Oh, girl, it was a moment. But then, then the next day or something, I said something. I was like mumbling. I was like, oh, you freaking idiot. Just like under my breath. And he goes, Mommy, would you say that to your friends? P.S. I love how you and I try to talk like our children. Mommy, you wouldn't say that about your friends. He does not sound anything like that. And I was like, you're right, honey. Well, he's like, don't say it to yourself. So, it was sweet.
We just want you to remember that you're not alone. Molly and I, we use our voices, we catch ourselves. And you know what? There is
okay, well, see, that's actually what he sounds like. Henrik, I'm recording a podcast. Son, what are you doing? Excuse me. What'd you just say to me?
What?
What'd you just tell me?
What?
Okay, I'm recording something now.
Mom?
What? Yes, put your dishes in the sink, please. Thank you. Timestamp this and cut that shit out. Edit.
Definitely. Although that was a great example of you being firm.
That's true. I thought, well,
maybe. You look really good.
Sorry. I hope you didn't lose your train of thought.
I think just being kind to ourselves and realizing it took years to get us to where we are. And if there's parts of ourselves that we want to change, like this topic of speaking up in uncomfortable situations, we need to give ourselves a wide berth. That's not making excuses. That's saying, okay, it took me years to fire these neurons together. Yep. So it's okay if it takes me time to unlearn them and to catch ourselves when we're doing it. And have, we have running buddies, to have a coiled colon buddy of sorts.
There you go.
Sheri, I heard you in the office. You're doing like the strip tease jokes with the infectious disease doctor. That was wrong of me. But and same with the doctors, talking about having a ball sack in my neck. Really? But these behaviors didn't happen overnight. And then to learn that it's actually a blessing to see humor in it, but to know when to do it. So I was very proud of myself when I went to, because there's plenty of opportunities to create those new neural pathways. Yeah. I've been in situations where I want so much to make a joke and I'm so uncomfortable, but instead I pretend like I'm like, I catch myself. I'm like, just be like Laura Ingalls on Little House on the Prairie. Just, answer properly.
Proper. Just answer properly.
But no, see, that's an accent too. But no. So when I want to say, oh no, it's not fleas, Yeah. Oh, no, that's not red marker on my back. Whatever. Now I just say, yes, I've had the rash since November 2023. And it feels uncomfortable. But I know that discomfort is a sign that I'm growing, that I'm growth requires, there's a reason they call it growing pains. There's a reason we're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because our brain is literally creating new pathways. That's painful. And to give yourself a pat on the back and go, okay, I got it. Or I didn't, but I'm going to get it next time.
Right. I love it. Well, here's what we should do. We'll start wrapping it up, but I would love to know, although I think your story with the doctor's room trumps them all. Do you have another quick story about another uncomfortable situation that you can share? And then I'll share one of mine. And then I would love to know what's happened with our viewers and listeners if they want to add to the comments and let us know what they're, and we can read some of these back the next time we talk about. There's just so much to talk about in this one. I think we can bring it back and talk about this. And I would love to share some stories that people have about what they did in an uncomfortable situation. Do you have anything to share?
Yeah, please do. We want to hear from you.
Yeah.
I'm going to give a completely different one from the guy I've known since childhood, because I want, hopefully it'll help our listeners say, oh yeah, that is a different uncomfortable situation. And it has nothing to do with romance. When my kids were little, we were in the Galleria, and my friend was exhausted, as one is with kids under the age of 3 and multiples. We were passing the Toll House cookie place, and he said, Mom, I want a cookie. Well, no, you're not getting a cookie. It's dinner time, and you're going to ruin your appetite. Mom, I want a cookie. I want a cookie. I said, no, but I could see the exhaustion in her face, and he could feel it. Kids come with little antennas. And so the third time he said it, he threw himself on the ground, grabbed her. You know how they do the grabbing.
Yep.
And said, I want a cookie. And she said, fine, just take the cookie. I could see the discomfort. It was just easier to placate her toddler son rather than sit with the discomfort of all the passersby watching. I think had she been well rested or thought it through, she would have, I would like the moms out there hearing this, like, who the fuck cares what other people think? You have to honor yourself. I wanted her to say, yeah, okay, I'm going to start walking out of this Galleria, and you can follow me with your little light up sneakers, but we are not, I'm not going to get you a big chocolate chip cookie when I already told you twice. No, the answer is no.
And I think you no, go ahead. Sorry.
He learned in that moment, if I push my mom enough, I get what I want. But I think a lot of parents, myself included,
me too,
have thought much more myopically, which is if I give him what he wants, he'll see that I'm not so bad and I love him and I care about his feelings. And what we forget is that kids are resilient. Humans are resilient. And if we want to teach children of any age, whether you're a parent or you're a teacher, someone listening who has kids in their life as a grandparent or a cousin, the best gift we can give to this next generation, to all humans on this beautiful planet, is to let them know through our actions, you got this.
Yeah.
And when we stop wanting to please others, we're letting them know, I trust you. You're going to figure it out. And when we cater to them and eclipse our own needs, we're starving ourselves, and we're also telling them we don't have faith in them.
No, I don't even want to tell my story. I'm just kidding. That was so good. I love that.
That's because my colon is not tight.
You're just free flowing. Free flowing.
My vagina, no.
Oh my God. That's for another day.
No.
See, yeah, you started to do it.
I caught it. No need to talk about vajayjays.
We'll talk about that episode.
And 15. I'm choosing to smoke this.
We got the ciggies.
Because I'm uncomfortable.
No, mine isn't that profound at all. It's more of the embarrassing one. I was in college and went out on a date with this guy that I didn't really like. Like, why did I even go out on the date in the first place? Because I couldn't say no. Because that would have been too uncomfortable, right?
Huge topic right there. That's right there. Yeah.
That's so sick.
Yeah.
And he didn't have a car, so I drove, which like I was like, whatever. So I don't even remember what we did. We listened to some music or something and then drove him back to his place, and we're sitting outside his house, and it's in Minnesota. So it's in the middle of the winter. It's freezing, it's cold as balls outside, and the heat's blowing in the car, and he's sitting across from me, and he was like, well, good night. And I was like, night. Well, good night. Good night. And I mean, the dude would not leave. He wouldn't leave. And we sat in there for almost exactly an hour before I finally said, hey man, I gotta go. Like what? And so, but it took an hour of just sitting there, and then he just would like go into the next story and try to go in for a kiss. And he's in my car. And I'm just like, get out, please just leave. But it took an hour before I finally was just like, so I guess I did stand up for myself. Damn it.
Yes, you did.
But it took an hour.
But that's okay. And that's where we beat ourselves up. And that self-awareness piece, what you just realized, is huge.
Yeah.
Because it
just... I didn't learn from it.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You did speak up. You did.
Oh, finally. But yeah, there's still those
uncomfortable.
There's those uncomfortable
we've been
things.
Programmed as women specifically. We can't speak about men because we haven't been men. Whenever in this society we live in, there's always like, but you left out the whatever it is. You left out the blah, 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 blah. We only know what women know. Right. We only know our experience. And and you might not agree with me, but from my personal experience as a female, I grew up in the 80s, late 70s, when if a woman was assertive, she was a bitch.
Oh yeah. I still think there's still kind of that lingering.
Yeah.
Gosh, I really wanted to have a guy on this podcast talking with us so we could get their perspective. And
I know.
I really think we should bring this topic back up around.
Definitely.
Yeah. So we'll bring this topic back after we get some comments on viewers and listeners, uncomfortable stories. And we'll get a guy in here to see what it's like on that side. But Sheri, do you have any, you kind of said it so nicely earlier, but do you have any key takeaways?
I was just about to go into character because the compliment had a reaction.
You got so awkward.
I was about to go, find your darling.
Don't ever do that again.
But I want our listeners to know that it is a real thing.
Yep.
To myself, but I'm letting myself be authentic and say, yeah, I caught that muscle memory.
Good for you.
So we can.
But that's part of the thing I like about you too, is your little darling. I know you're right.
That's the thing I want to work on is when you, Molly, gave me such a huge compliment. Instead of sitting with how good it felt, I had to hide behind humor.
Yeah.
That. I should just be funny because I could be funny. It shouldn't be like, oh my God, she made me feel good. I don't know what to do with it. I better start talking with the different ducks and then she'll be okay with me. I mean, it's like, just sit with the fact that you're loved. Just sit with the fact that it was a compliment.
Mm-hmm.
And honor those little choices that you make, guys, every day. Those little things where you choose left over right or right over left, or you go up instead of down, whatever it is. For me, it was learning to say thank you when someone complimented me. That was huge. Now it's like muscle memory. I got it. If someone says, great job, thank you. But there was a time where, woo, did you just compliment me? I've got to insult me and argue for my limitations.
Okay, well, there's a little step that all of us can try doing then. Just that one thing with someone gives you a compliment, just say thank you. Let's all start there. Let's try that. Well, hey, we'll put all of the information we talked about today in the show notes regarding the poet that we talked about. The information, if you want to follow Sheri's blog and all of her awesome writing. The book she mentioned from Joe Dispenza. Is that the name?
Dispenza.
Okay, we'll put all that information. Yeah.
You Are the Placebo.
I thought you were going to say the placenta.
You are the placenta if you want to be. That's your choice. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Well, I want to thank you, Sheri. This was such a fun first episode, and thank you everybody for listening.
Oh, and the other one, Louise Hay, was not a poet. I mean, she may have been.
Oh, okay.
She started Hay House, a publishing company. Her story is amazing. She was diagnosed with cervical cancer and healed herself without Western medicine.
Oh, dang.
She wrote a book called You Can Heal Your Life, and she talks all about the power of meditation to change your biology. And it goes back to that mind-body connection, which is what Joe Dispenza does. So
I love it. Well, we'll put that information down below. Please be sure to comment on some of the cringy moments you've had. I cannot wait to hear them. Guys, that's a wrap. So remember, when everything's going wrong, it just means you're crafting a great story. Stay tuned for more episodes where we turn life's lemons into laughable tales. Don't forget to like and subscribe and keep finding the best in the worst, because life's too ridiculous not to laugh at it. Until next time.